There are no signs of us halting South Africa's roller coaster rise in joblessness. The latest stats show unemployment in the final quarter of last year rose to 35.3%. But far more concerning is the fact that youth unemployment has skyrocketed to a mind-numbing 66.5%. Essentially, this means that 3 out of 4 young people between the ages of 15 and 24 are not employed right now. All of this follows a recent World Bank report labeling us the most unequal country on earth. So how do we stop this economic avalanche? Ravi Naidoo is the CEO of the Youth Employment Service, and perhaps he has some advice for young South Africans. Now, Ravi, thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate it. These numbers, not good reading at all. What does this mean for South Africa's socio-economic recovery?
Well, it's not good news. I suppose also it's not a surprise because, we actually had higher levels of unemployment prior to the pandemic, and then the pandemic has seen 2 million fewer jobs now. So we've lost those a large number of jobs. And it's problem, that it presents for our social recovery, as you put it, is that, youth are the future leaders, they are the future consumers for companies, they are the future employees. So if they are not included in the economy, then it has longer term problems. And I think the president said at the investment conference this last week, that's the one thing that gives him sleepless nights. And quite frankly, it should be giving all of us sleepless nights.
Many businesses, especially small businesses, shy away from hiring young people because of some of the challenges they present and maybe some of the misconceptions about the youth. Maybe they want more for doing less. They are not loyal. They don't have experience. What are some of the challenges that businesses bring forward to you in employing youth, and how do you rebut those? What business case do you put forward for hiring youth?
Well, so the first thing that a business wants is that they want someone with some experience, someone who's going to help them make money, because the business is there to make money. And if you're going to be working for a business, you must be adding value to that business, So the challenge that we have is people don't have the experience, they haven't been given the quality of education to be prepared for the workplace, and also our labor laws are quite harsh when it comes to the penalties if you do something wrong as an employer. So the risks are quite high. And therefore, I think if we really want to make progress in terms of youth employment, we have to look at the simplest way to do that, which is really to have special rules and incentives that make it easier for the private sector to hire young people, to take a chance on young workers and give them their first job. So I think that's really what's worked internationally, and there's no magic formula. It's what we would have to do if we really want to shift that number.
Ravi, is that not something that's been done already? If it's something that's so obvious, then why aren't we implementing it?
Yeah, so there's different components to that, right? So the Youth Employment Service is one part of the program where we give B points to companies that sponsor youth into jobs into the private sector, and that's worked reasonably well in terms of the BE benefits that we offer. The president in February, the Minister of Finance in February then announced the tax incentive. It's called expanded tax incentive, where if a worker earns under 6,000 Rand, a young worker, they can get 1,500 Rand back as tax for the company. That's good. And then the third thing, which hasn't really happened, and that's our key problem, is we need special employment rules that make it less risky, especially for small companies, as you say, to actually take on young workers. So I think once that happens, that'll be a very good set of programs that can make a difference. Of course, we still need economic growth. Right, because economic growth is the thing that lifts the waters for all the boats and, puts everything afloat, which is what we want. And we do need to see fairly radical changes to improve the quality of basic education. But certainly now the thing we need to do immediately is look at special rules and incentives, particularly on the labor law and employment dispensation, that make it easier to take on young workers.
What kind of special rules are we talking about here, Ravi? When you say you want special rules and incentives, give a few examples of what you think might work.
Okay, so I suppose the good thing is the president has started to work on this, but obviously they must do it much faster. So he mentioned in the SONA that there will be a special review of small businesses and labor market regulations for them. So we want to be able to say that the same rule, so the rules that apply to large companies that have to, in terms of skills development, levies, and CCMA and a whole range of things like that, which are doable for a large company, are quite difficult for a small company, to be able to accommodate. So are there ways in which we can say, if you employ, as a small business, you employ young people for the first time, you could employ them on a probationary basis, or if you employ people in a particular economic zone, you're given special dispensations, just things to get people into their first job. So there's a range of things that will be a challenge for a small business to actually implement and comply with. And let's just start to limit those so they can take on more youth employees.
All right, Ravi, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Ravi Naidoo is the CEO of the Youth Employment Service.